And make some noise, everybody, make some noise. Please welcome James Cadden!
Hello. How's it going, folks? My name is James Cadden. I'm 30 years old. I'm from Ireland. Thank you very much. Thank you. I thought I was going to be coming up here all exotic, like we got any Irish in, but now we got Paul, the cloak and daggers pederast, and now I gotta like make Ireland cool for you guys. It's actually a happening place. So, Paul, you can go for a drink in this section. Don't worry about this. It's just for these guys. So, my name is James Cadden. It's an unusual Irish name. It sounds a little bit like James Corden. I've also been told I look a little bit like James Corden. Give me a cheer if you think I look like James Corden. Okay. Now give me a cheer if you'd love to punch James Corden in his fat fucking face. All right. So that's what I'm walking around with. Yeah. I have to go through life looking like Fat Hitler. Hashtag Fitler. It's good. It's fun. It's good. I could try and lose weight, maybe, you know. End up looking like James Corden with AIDS, you know. Then I'm sure the pussy will come rolling in. Well, let me tell you a little about myself. I grew up on a farm in the Irish countryside. Are any farmers in tonight? No? And that's why you guys were right to leave the EU. You played it just right. Fair play here. Oh, a few groans in that one. When I was slagging Paul the pedo, you're all for it. It's like, oh, don't bring up Brexit now. Come on, okay. So I grew up on a farm. I'll tell you what it was like growing up in a farm in the Irish countryside. I think the best way to describe it is I'm going to tell you guys my earliest childhood memory. Would you like to hear my earliest childhood memory? This is a true story. I swear to God this happened. When I was 3 years old, a cow shit in my mouth. Yep. Give you a little second to absorb that. I was 3 years old and a cow shit in my mouth. And I've been talking shite ever since. Way! No, it's actually very very psychological. It's terrible. It was bad. It was bad. It's not a good origin story, I think we can all admit. I mean, that's when my consciousness came online. I logged on, 3 years old, cow shitting in my mouth, you know. That's not a very good origin story, I think we can all admit. You know, like, it's not very cool. It's not very cinematic, you know. Like Batman, for example, he's got a great origin story, you know. Bruce Wayne sees his parents get murdered in front of him. He decides he's going to fight crime. He becomes Batman. I was 3 years old and a cow shit in my mouth. That's when I became Scatman. Paul loved that one, I'll tell you. Paul was like, finally a good Irishman up there saying the truth. Yes, so that's me. That's where I'm coming from, you know. I look like James Corden, a cow shit in my mouth when I was an infant, you know. So I think you could all, you know, it's not a big surprise. My childhood wasn't a lot of fun. Like school's very tough for me. I had a hard time in school. I had a hard time fitting in, to be honest. Might have been the smell of cow shit in retrospect, but no, I had a hard time fitting in school. I remember it actually got so bad, and I was so desperate to fit in that I actually gave in to peer pressure, and I started beating up the least popular student in the whole class. Which is also how I got into self-harming. Yeah, they did not like me. There was this one guy, right? He bullied me every day. He hated me. Hated me for being gay, even though I'm not actually gay. You know, personally, I'd expect more from a primary school teacher, but what are you gonna do, you know? No, he hated me because he thought I was gay. I've never understood the homophobic mentality, you know? Hate someone because they're gay is very strange to me. Like, you think homophobes get angry every time they see a rainbow, you know? Makes them think of the pride flag. Maybe homophobes think a rainbow's like the bat symbol for gay people, you know? Oh, look at that now, they're at it again, Jesus Christ. You don't like that, Paddy, do you? No, gay man. Hate crime. Welcome to Ireland. It's a fun town. Some of you are probably thinking, Jesus, 2 Batman references in the space of a minute. Don't worry, I have been tested for Asperger's. Inconclusive. But sure, we'll see. So yes, my school was very tough for me, as I've mentioned. My home life wasn't much better, to be honest. I didn't get along very well with my father, you know. I've got a lot of daddy issues, is what I'm saying. I should be doing porn, but with this body, have to do stand-up comedy instead, you know. There's no real marketplace out there for Gavin and Stacey themed parody porn, you know. Go on, love, have a nosh on that, you'd love it. So yeah, that's not paying the bills. So I didn't get along with my father, you know. We didn't see eye to eye. Personally, I found him to be quite a hypocritical man, you know. Like, he'd say things to me like, James, don't smoke cigarettes. But he smoked all the time, you know. He'd say, James, don't drink alcohol. But he was a very heavy drinker. He'd say, James, don't be so lazy and just be hanging around the house. And he hanged himself in our house. So, woo. I know, right? Hey, believe me, I was as shocked as you. I remember when I found him, too. I was like, oh, my God. Hypocrite. That's it, I'm smoking. Fuck you, Dad. My mom hates that joke. No sense of humor at all. Admittedly, the eulogy was the wrong time to try it out, but live and learn, Miss you, Dad. In his defense, though, he was right. I was a very lazy child, you know. Like, growing up, I would just lie around watching TV all day. My favorite show growing up was the sitcom Friends. You guys all know the show Friends? Yeah, it's a good show. To be honest, I think I've watched it too many times now, because I'm starting to pick up on things I never noticed before. Like, anyone else here think it's weird that the characters of Friends never actually talked about 9/11? No? 9/11? Paul, you're familiar, 9/11? The September 11 terrorist attacks. No, he's not a history buff. Okay, well, it was big news. I think it's weird because the characters of Friends were living in New York City in 2001, but still, we never saw an episode where Chandler was looking out the window saying, oh man, could that plane be any closer to that building? Oh, it can. Oh my God. Oh, there's another one. Holy smokes. Thank God there's a laugh track, or this would be a very dark episode. Hey, how you doing? Not good. Did you see that? Do we have any Americans in tonight, actually? Any Americans? No? Good. Fuck them. You know, I have to be very careful when I tell that joke in front of Americans, you know. It's a very sensitive subject matter for them. They don't like people making fun of it. And rightfully so, because it's a great sitcom. So, you know, never forget. Speaking of terrorism, actually, I grew up in County Monaghan, right? So that's what's known as a border county. So I grew up very close to the Northern Irish border. Are you guys all familiar with, like, the Troubles and all that stuff? Like, have you seen the show Derry Girls? All right. So that was basically my adolescence, you know. Picture me in a Catholic schoolgirl outfit, you know. I can't believe I got my first period. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Or whatever. I've never seen the show, but whatever. So where I grew up, right, it was a very like pro-sectarian, very pro-IRA area. Like where I grew up, there were people in my community, I know for a fact they were in the IRA back when it was popping off, you know. It's very weird to grow up in an area where you know your postman has murdered members of the British Parliament, you know. Letter bombs, he was very good at those. You gotta love what you do, I guess. But no, so like you went through Brexit a few years ago. So in my area, we were kind of all afraid when Brexit happened because we didn't want to see the IRA come back. Do you know what I mean? We didn't want like a sequel to the Troubles, you know? The Troubles Part 2, Back in the Habit. Sister Act reference. This is a hip crowd. All right. Yeah. I don't want to see the IRA come back myself because I personally don't think there'd be anything more depressing than a millennial IRA, you know? Like, instead of planting car bombs, they just cyberbully Protestants into killing themselves, you know? Oh, that bowler hat and sash make you look fat, love. Oh, orange is so not your color. You call that a parade? Yawn. I might be confusing the IRA with the LGBT movement now that I think about it. So where I grew up, it's kind of like it's a very like small town, very closed-minded. Like there's a lot of sort of still closed-minded ideology. Like I mentioned homophobia earlier. So like I grew up in an area, friends of mine who I grew up with, I love these guys, they're good lads, but they harbor some homophobic ideology, and I'll give you an example. So a very good friend of mine, him and his missus, they just had their 10-year anniversary, right? So they went out, they had a nice meal, they came home, they went to bed, they started getting into it, you know, and she got a little spicy. It's like, oh, I know what I'll do. And she tried to put her finger up his ass, right? And my mate totally freaked out. He was like, don't do that. And he was telling me about it afterwards, like, can you believe she did that? Oh my God. And I was kind of thinking, jizz, man, what's the big deal? You know, finger up the ass, not the end of the world now, come on. And he said to me, no, James, no, nothing goes up my ass because I'm not gay. And again, you're all kind of, you're right to feel weird about it because it's a very sort of closed-minded, homophobic thing to say. But I started thinking about it. How insecure about your sexuality do you have to be that during the act of having sex with a woman, you're afraid to seem a little gay? I mean, you know, I've been around the block a few times, and I personally I'd put having sex with a woman right up there as one of the most hetero activities you could engage in, you know. Apart from maybe fly fishing or something. Top Gear reruns, whatever these men do. I don't know. So what else can I tell you? I smoke a lot of weed. Any guys smoke weed? Yeah, bunch of fucking hippies. Get a job, beatnik. No, I do. I smoke a lot of weed. I would go as far to say that for me, smoking weed's kind of like a religious experience, you know? Which is weird because I don't believe in God or anything. Anybody know what it's called when you don't believe in God? Starts with an A. Anybody? Adult, that's right. Yeah. I don't believe in imaginary things, but still though, when I smoke too much weed and I start having a panic attack, that's the only time I'll ever acknowledge the existence of God, you know? So I'd be stoned out of my head, right? I'm fucking watching an episode of Friends. I start freaking out, you know? Heart starts pounding out of my chest. I'm there like, oh, dear God, don't let me die. Dear Lord in heaven, don't let me die. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll stop smoking weed. I'll start going to church. I'll stop watching incest porn. Just don't let me die, please. It's a good crowd. You're all familiar with the incest porn. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Maybe a few prudes in tonight who are like, oh, they're not Game of Thrones fans, I guess. I don't know. I am watching too much porn, though. I'll admit that, you know. I tell you, you know you're lonely when you go back to watching softcore porn just for the intimacy. Do you know what I mean? I'd just be watching it there, and I'm like, oh, look at that. They're holding hands, and they're kissing and making eye contact, you know. Why can't I have that? By which I mean the intimacy, not the 12-inch black cock. Well, hey, no, I'm not gonna say no to that either, you know. I am my mother's son, after all. She's single now. She might as well get after it. Hey, don't judge her. She's a good woman. Are there any other Irish people in tonight apart from Paul who were, you know, the Mr. Redacted over here who we're not allowed to acknowledge? Any other Irish in? Any other Irish? Where are you from? I'm from Belfast. They're from Belfast. What part of Belfast are you from? This is interesting now. We're either going to be best friends or we're going to have some beef. Yeah. Wait, who's from Dublin? My mom's from Dublin. Your mom's from Dublin? Well, this is interesting. We're getting into the nitty-gritty. What part of Dublin? Because she could be the biggest cunt of all. That's the thing, like. Sectarian violence is one thing, but if she's a D4 twat, I don't... sorry, look. She's from Crumlin. Oh, she's scum, pal. Are you joking? Don't even look at me. Are you serious? You fucking Oliver Twist peasant. Don't even look at me. I'm joking. Please don't hurt me after the show, sir. I'm deceptively big. I look large on stage, but, you know, I'm just very out of shape is the thing. So I'm going to leave you guys on this one last thing here. So I'm 33 now. Any people in the 30s here? Any people in the 30s? Oh, my God. Any people in their 20s here? Oh, my God. That optimism is disgusting. Oh, Jesus Christ. I think my kidney stone just moved. That was disgusting. Well, let me tell you what you guys are in store for. So when you hit your like I'm 33 now. I wouldn't say when you hit your 30s, you're like old, right? But I have started to notice some slight physical changes, and I'll give you an example. So the other morning, I woke up, I went into the bathroom, I actually found a gray pubic hair, right? And, you know, I was kind of freaking out, getting older, etc. What was really alarming, though, was that I actually found it in my mouth. Yeah, my grandfather owes me an explanation. No, don't worry, I'm joking. He's dead, too. He's dead, too. I hope so, otherwise the cremation was a huge mistake, you know. You know what I always wondered about cremation? If you die in a house fire, is that like half price off the cremation? You know, because the job's half done when you think about it. Okay, I have to go now. I understand that's a very weird image to leave it on, you know. Me getting teabagged by my dead grandfather. That's a weird one, you know. Apologies to any necrophiliacs who are in the crowd who were triggered by that, you know. You can't say anything these days, can you? I tell you what, if you're a necrophiliac and you are offended by that joke, you can drop dead and then go fuck yourself. Because at least you'll enjoy it. All right, folks, that's it for me. Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
James Cadden, everybody!